Charles Kupchan is a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and former special assistant to the President and senior director for European Affairs on the staff of the National Security Council in the Barack Obama administration. He is now joining us live from Washington, D.C. Hello, Charles, and welcome to WION World is One.
Good to be with you.
If Russia's concerns are considered, what would be the impact in the war effort when the West arms the Baltic states, or, as Russia claims, militarization of the Baltics?
Well, what we're witnessing here is the blowback that Putin's invasion of Ukraine has caused. One of the justifications that the Russian president put out there was that he wanted to roll back the post-Cold War settlement. He wanted to convince NATO to pull its forces back from the new members, the eastern flank. Well, what's happened is exactly the opposite. NATO forces are being deployed in greater numbers in the Baltic countries, in Poland, in countries to the south that border Ukraine, and now Sweden and Finland are both in the process of joining NATO. Finland already in, Sweden probably soon to be in. And so what you're seeing here is a considerable increase in the NATO force levels that are close to Russia's borders. The Russians should have seen this coming. They asked for it when they invaded Ukraine, and now the Russians are detailing how they expect to respond, but they're going to have trouble doing so because most of their forces are already committed to the battle in Ukraine.
Charles, looking at this situation, how vulnerable are the Baltic states when it comes to presence or even claims of Wagner mercenary groups in some of the countries, including Poland?
Well, I think the presence of Wagner in Belarus doesn't really make that much of a difference. I think it's more of a rhetorical threat than an actual threat. But no question that the Baltic countries, especially those that border Russia, are vulnerable to a Russian attack, either an overt attack or the little green men coming in as they did in Crimea, a hybrid kind of invasion. And that's one of the reasons that the Baltic countries want more NATO forces on their territory. And it's one of the reasons that since the invasion of Ukraine, you have in fact seen NATO increase force levels. The idea here is to deter any Russian meddling in these countries, and if necessary, to defend these countries against Russian aggression.
Charles, finally, how would you gauge Ukraine's counter-offensive process so far?
It certainly has not gone as well as had been expected. The Ukrainians, as far as we understand, have brought the lion's share of their new capability into the fight. They have made some gains. They're looking for weak points in Russia's defenses, but we have not yet seen Ukraine break through the multiple lines of defense that Russia has been able to construct over the last few months. It's still early in the game. Let's wait and see what unfolds in the coming weeks and months. But I do think it's safe to say that as we get to the end of the year, a new military stalemate is more likely than a Ukrainian victory and a success in restoring territorial integrity. I think, unfortunately, we're looking at a war that is going to go on for quite some time.
All right, I've been talking to a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, Charles Kupchan. Thank you for your insights and for talking to WION World is One today.
My pleasure.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.